Sine law. Fun times. So like I said, we are off the coordinate plane now. There are no right angles. So we would use sine law when we do not have a right angle triangle. So this is when we'd use sine law. And there's a sine law and there's a cosine law, but there's no tangent law. So sorry to ruin the fun. So you're going to have to decide when you see these non-right triangles, am I going to use sine law or cosine law? And you would use sine law when you have two angles and one side, and you're trying to find a side, or you have two sides and one angle, and you're trying to find that other angle. It's a little bit more specific than that. And do you guys know how to label a triangle correctly?
I actually don't know.
Okay, so
yeah.
You do know how?
I think so.
Sweet. Okay, so any triangle. It could be a right triangle, it could be an obtuse triangle, it could be an isosceles triangle. Any triangle, this is how you do it. All right, you use capital letters on your vertices, and that's just a mathy word for corners. So we're going to use capital letters to indicate the angle in the corner. So capital letters are angles. So P, Q, R. That's pretty exciting. That's a letter P up there. That's not a great letter P, but okay. So we always do the corners as capital letters. Now the sides are directly opposite to the capital letters. So side Q is opposite to it. Right, so it's going to be right across. And we use lowercase letters for sides. So that's side Q. That's side R. And my capital P and my lowercase p look very similar.
So can we like put an angle, like how do we know, let me ask, like can we put the angle sign beside P and Q and R, the big ones, like the uppercase ones?
Like those ones?
Yeah.
Yep. So, I put that they were all the same, and that's not a true story. Sorry, I just got excited. It happens. Happens to me when I'm doing math. Yeah, so those are the angles. So capital letters are angles, lowercase are sides, and in this, it's really important that when I talk about a matching set, and that's language that I use, a matching set is the angle and its side. So I have a matching set that is letter Q in this case. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yep.
So I have an angle and I have its side. Okay, that's a yellow highlighting today. All right, so sine law. Here is the sine law. Side A over sine of A is equal to B over sine of angle B. And then it's equal to C over sine of angle C. And you're like, that's Miscallion. We don't put multiple equal signs on the same horizontal line. That's bad math. And I would agree with you. So this formula is just a little bit wonky. This is what it looks like on your formula sheet. I hope I didn't do it upside down. I probably did, just because that's who I am as a person. Oh no, I did it the same way. It doesn't, like, so here's your sine law. It has the three sides, but really what you need out of this is you just need a set of two. So it could be those two, it could be BC, or it could be AC. You only need two of the fraction sets if you're using this formula. Blue was so bad. And see, so you only need two of them. You do not use all three. Let me try that. I'm just going to write down only use two fractions. Now, I just called them fractions, but really the mathy word for them is ratios. And we use that a lot. Like when I talk about trig ratios, that's your sine of theta is equal to opposite over adjacent, or sorry, opposite over hypotenuse. We call them trig ratios, and really it's just the fraction that I want. So just so you know. And we'll work through it, and hopefully it will make a little bit more sense. Okay, and then I do it a super specific way. Did you guys get that copy down? Sorry. Because the more I do it, I'm consistent with how I set it up, the more likely I am to put that into my muscle memory, into my brain, and it will just come naturally. Okay, so example 1. From Kelly's house to her friend's house is 1.8 kilometers. So I'm going to put that on the map. Kelly's house to her friend's cabin is 1.8 kilometers. All right. Kelly wants to know the distance from her house to the store on the edge of town. So what side am I solving for? Am I solving for the bottom or the right-hand side?
Or the bottom side, the bottom.
The bottom, right? Sorry, my things just got moved around here. The store should be at this point here. So I'm trying to find the distance from my house to the store. Now I'm going to ask you a question. Do I have any matching sets? So a side and a matching angle. When I talk about a matching set, I'm talking about a side and its angle.
No, you don't.
I do not. So I can't do this question. Stupid. I don't know why I gave this. What do we know about interior angles of a triangle? What do they add up to?
180.
180.
Yeah.
So all inside angles add up to 180. Could we calculate this one?
Yes.
Yes.
You can
Easy
equal
peasy.
66 and subtract the number from 180.
Okay, all right. So we know that we're going to take 180 minus 66 minus, was it 88?
Yeah.
And I'm going to get a whopping 26 degrees. So I know this angle down here is 26 degrees. So that's another trick. You got to kind of like the Pythagorean theorem and the rule of 180. Those are things that you already know and you have them in your back pocket, but sometimes we forget we carry them with us. So you have to know that. So now do I have a matching set?
Yep.
Now I do. There's my matching set. I have an angle and it's matching side. So that's why it's really important to make sure you're labeling your triangles correctly, because if you don't know where things go, it gets super confusing. Okay, so I always start out with my matching set first, and I put it into the sine formula, or the sine law formula. So what goes on top, side or angle?
Side.
Side. I always start with the fraction I know all the information about. I can't use sine law unless I have that. Okay, so what am I trying to find? I'm trying to find the question mark. I feel like we're more advanced than a question mark, so I'm going to replace it with the letter D for distance. I feel like we're there. What angle matches with the question mark?
88.
88.
Side of 88.
So, no, it's an angle 88.
Oh yeah, but then when you write it down, you have to write.
So, oh yeah, sine, sorry. Sine 88. I thought you said side.
Oh.
Okay, look at us. We're doing math. So notice I only used 2 fractions. I didn't use all 3. I don't need anything on that other side, even though I have an angle of 66. I don't really need to calculate this. The question doesn't ask for it. You totally can, but you can't do it all at once because then we'd have too many variables in there. So we're going to just look at the fraction as 2 parts. Okay, so one thing you got to take away, you got to find matching sets, because that will sink your battleship if you're not matching the setup. And then you need to figure out, what do I have all the information for, and what am I looking for? All right, so now we're just going to do some basic math. When there's a fraction and an equal sign in between the 2 fractions, what can you do?
You gotta multiply it by sine of 88. both
Perfect.
sides.
Yep, because I want to get the letter D by itself. So I'm going to multiply both sides by sine of 88. So those are gone. I'm left with the letter D here. So I would suggest in your calculator, I'm going to do sine of 88. Now notice my calculator opens a bracket right away. So I'm going to close my bracket and then I'm going to say times by 1.8. Everybody good with that?
Yep.
And then I'm going to divide by sine of 26. So sine of 26. Again, my calculator opened that bracket for me. So I'm going to close it and I'm going to hit enter. So is that an angle or is that a distance measurement?
Distance measurement.
It's a distance, yep,
Yeah,
it's a distance.
Triangles cancel out.
Exactly, yep. And what were we solving for? We were solving for the tops, and the tops were all about side lengths, right?
Yep.
So let's go to 2 decimal places, 4.10. If I've asked for 2 decimal places, and that second place is a 0, you need to write the, I was gonna say the letter 0. What unit of measure is that?
Kilometers.
Kilometers. Look at you guys. You've done your first Sine Law. So proud of you. So those are going to be the tricks with this, right? Matching sets. I'm going to say that time and time again. And then when we get to cosine law, I'm going to talk about earmuffs. Right now we're in matching sets. All right. Okay, we good with that? Can I flip the page? Nobody's screaming or crying? Okay, here we go. It is likely that you will see the triangle given this way. When I have to do it digitally, it's a pain to create. Like notice that my store is up here, like I gotta make text boxes and then link them all together, and putting the degree symbol in is difficult and things like that. So I often will write it in just words. It's so much easier for me, not for you. And I'm sorry. Okay, so angle P, that's what that symbol means, not greater than P. Notice the line is flat. It's flush with the bottom of the letter. So angle P is 36, side P is 24.8 meters. Q is 23.4 meters. Determine the measure of angle R to the nearest degree. I don't have an R in any of this information. It's useless, but it's not. So let's just draw a triangle. You do not have to draw the picture if this isn't necessary for your brain, but it's necessary for mine. So I'm just going to draw the triangle. A random triangle. And I know the vertices are PQR because it tells me that. Triangle PQR. So right in the question it tells me that I'm going to have PQR. Miss Gallion, does it matter where I put my letters? Not in this lesson, but it will in ambiguous cases tomorrow. All right. Let's fill in what we know. Angle P is 36. Side P is 24.8. Where does side P go? Across from it. So it's the length QR, right? So that is 24.8 meters. I don't like putting units on my picture. Too many letters, I get confused. We know that side Q is 23.4. Where does that go? The length of PR, so it's at the bottom of this one. So angle Q is right here, and we have 23.4 meters, and we have been asked to solve for angle R. Well, that's a great time. How are you guys going to tackle this? Can I do anything with R? Do I know side R? No. So I can't jump right into solving for angle R. So what I can do though is I can solve for angle Q. I can solve for angle Q. And then once I have angle Q, what do I know all interior angles add up to? 180. Then I can solve for angle R. Right? So, Rovik, did you get new glasses?
I've always had glasses. I just have to order new contacts.
Oh, okay. Things we didn't know about Rovik. You got... So they're new to me. Okay? They're new to me. All right, so let's set this up. So like I said, I always start with the pieces of information I know everything about. So I'm always going to start with my set, my matching set, the angle and the side, where I have all the information. So distance on top, angle on bottom, equal to. And if you notice in the formula, I'm just going to pause for a second. If you notice in the formula, they use AB, ABC, and that's fine, that's perfect. We're using PQR. It really doesn't matter what the letters are. It's all about matching sets. So then we are going to look, we know side Q. And I'm actually just going to use the letter Q instead of theta. There's nothing wrong with using theta because none of these were defined, but I'm going to use the letter Q just to keep myself straight. Okay, gonna do some math. I need to get Q out of the basement. I need to get sine Q out of the basement, and I need to get it isolated. So, if I times both sides by sine Q, those are gone. Now sine Q is out of the basement. It's on the first level. But now I got to get it by itself. So what am I going to do here? Nobody's talked to me yet about the word I don't like to talk about, which I'm kind of excited. What am I going to do? I get sine Q by itself, folks. This is just basic algebra. If I want to get rid of sine 36 and it's in the denominator, what do I got to do? Multiply by sine 36. So I'd multiply this side by sine 36. That cancels out that, but then I got to multiply this side by sine 36. Okay, we're getting there. If it's multiplied by 24.8, what do I got to do? What's the opposite, folks? Divide. We also could have multiplied by the reciprocal of this and done it all in one step. Some people will see that. Some people will say the horrid word cross multiplication.
Or you just flip. Well,
Flip.
not when it's on the bottom, flip when it's on the top.
No.
Flip when it's on the bottom.
Well, flip,
What?
Like if
flip when you're trying to solve for the top one.
No, we're not solving for the top one here. We're trying
No,
to
I'm
solve
just
for the
saying, like, that's
bottom.
when we would flip though, no?
could
I don't know what we mean by flip, but
could we have like we learned this in physics where like if we took the bottom and flipped it up, like both sides,
oh yeah, you can totally do that.
and then we
You,
could
but usually do that when you're
Okay,
trying to
so
solve for
you're-
the top one, because then you get the top on the bottom.
You never want to, you don't want your variable on the bottom ever. It makes it math complicated.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You want to always solve it when it's on the top. So let's go back to this. I'm going to take a lesson from physics for a second. Sine 36 equals 23.4 over sine of Q. And you're telling me physics says as long as I flip both sides, we're good. That is a reasonable math thing to do.
Yep.
Right? So now what I'm looking for is on top.
And then it makes
Times-
because now you can multiply the bottom out.
Easy peasy.
Yep.
But this is the exact same thing that's right there.
Yep.
So math works, and I'm cool with you doing it whatever way makes the most sense to you.
I just visualize that one better. You can visualize it crossing out.
For sure. If it makes sense mathematically and it makes better sense to your brain, do it. And I love that you're pulling stuff from physics and using it in your math class. Okay, so now we gotta do some math. So I'm gonna take 23.4 and I'm gonna times it by, what am I timesing it by? Sine of 36. I have to close that bracket, and then I'm dividing by 24.8. And I get a funky decimal. Now, write down 4 digits and then use ellipses after it. Use an ellipse. It's not pluralized. And you guys know that means it continues on forever. I don't want sine of q, I just want sine. Anytime I'm trying to solve for the angle, I'm going to use the second function button in our calculator, just like we did in right angle trig. All right. So, depending on how your calculators work, mine I can do, so I do second function sine, and I know that it's second function because it's got that -1 there. And then I can pull the answer from the previous line by going second function, and it's the negative sign on mine, and it pulls the answer. And then that, let's round to the nearest whole degree. So we will say that Q is 34 degrees. So again, knowing how your calculator works is super important. Ooh, I boxed that in. Is that my answer? Is that what I'm looking for?
No, we're looking for
No.
R.
Looking for R. How do I find angle R? If I go back up to my pretty picture, we just found Q to be 34 degrees. Use the rule of 180 here. So I'm going to take 180 minus 36 minus 34. Pretty sure that's 70, so that's 110. So angle R is equal to 110 degrees. I'm going to box in that answer because that one's right. My angle symbol looks like a greater than. There. Oh. I got a little crazy with how far I went with it. All right, there we go. That looks a little bit better. Does that make sense to everybody? Easy peasy? And really, that's sine law. So you're just going to practice it.